And so we take the world so seriously. And we allow the play of the world to have an effect, on us. Whereas in truth, the play of the world has absolutely no effect on the true nature, on the being, on the heart. Has no effect whatsoever. The true being that you are, that you already are, is not an achievement. It's not an experience that comes and goes. It is the presence of being that is quite simply just always here. It is the simplest thing. And yet, the only reason that it feels so hard is because we are trying to find it with the mind. We are trying to make an experience out of something that is not an experience. We are trying to make there be some kind of gaining out of something that you already are. There is nothing to gain. The only reason that it feels hard is because we make the world so important. We allow ourselves to be lost in the tussle with the world. We believe ourselves to be the me, the small character that is being thrown around by the world, feeling to be a victim to the world, and having a sense of needing to somehow succeed in this game of life. The mind then creates an idea. If I can awaken, then I can be successful because I can be an awakened person, and that will make my life easier. But the awake being has got nothing to do with your life. The awake being is who you already are. It is not an achievement or a goal for the person to work towards. It is the direct and immediate, spontaneous recognition of the being that is always here. And the recognition comes when the mind collapses into the now so fully, it becomes silent. And in that, the recognition of the silence reveals the truth of who you already are, the truth of who you have always been. And this moment is a complete seeing through of the illusion of separation and all of the ideas that the me has, that it has to work towards this goal of spiritual awakening. The only worthy doing, we could say, is for the mind, the idea of the doer, to bring itself to this present moment and to drop everything into the now, into feeling the presence. When you truly feel the presence, it is the only thing that is real. It is the only thing that is certain. The only thing that is not a belief, a concept, and a movement of the mind, a thought. The only thing that is real is the being that is already here. It matters not what happens in your life. The being is never touched. So you can tell where you are living if you are affected by the play of the world. If the play of the world bothers you, then that is just showing that there is still a work in progress that is happening. Where there is relationship to past, where there is a story that something is missing, something is wrong with me, something is not right with me, I need to make more of myself, I need to work harder, I need to try harder. These are all ideas, they are all thoughts, they are all concepts. And what are they based on? It is just the mind spinning around and around in circles, when the truth of who you are is already here. But so much time and energy is spent going around and around in circles, being affected by the play of the world, believing the thoughts, believing the concepts. If all of that time, all of that energy was used turning towards the present moment, you would see the illumination of the heart that you already are. The illumination of the heart is your true nature. You are already illuminated and bright and brilliant and beautiful. If there is a longing for this truth, it is just to turn to the longing, to the felt sense of the longing, without knowing what that longing is for. It is to give yourself wholeheartedly to the not knowing. Give yourself wholeheartedly to the pull of the stillness, the pull of the silence, the pull of the being, the pull of truth, the pull of love. To give yourself wholeheartedly, to say yes and yes and yes and yes to what you are truly longing for, and then watch to see how much time and energy gets invested in things that are not truly important. How much time and energy is spent playing out the game of life and trying to be successful. Of course, the me will come in and say, yes, but I have to do this and I have to do that. But that's exactly what we're speaking of. How deeply that belief runs, how deeply that belief in the me runs. It is not about creating a new belief. And these words do not come in order to create new beliefs. They come to point to what is true, so that you can, in this moment, receive the pointing and have a direct experience of what is true. And then when you confirm it in your own inner direct experience, the truth of who you are, and you can see clearly the way that the habits run the show, just shining the light upon this is all that is needed for there to be an unraveling of habit and a living in the abidance in the awake being. If this is what is truly longed for, then the pull of the heart will be strong enough. It will be strong enough. And every taste that you have, every glimpse that you have, just pulls you more strongly, becomes more compelling to say yes and yes and yes to yourself. It is not how the mind imagines. It does not mean that things that need to happen do not happen, that your job doesn't happen, that you don't get fed, that your family starves. It doesn't mean that at all. You just come to see that you never have been doing anything, that everything is being moved, everything is happening by the will of God. It is just a belief that it is your will. But the way that it is playing is creating a life story out of your own consciousness. It creates the surface of life play for you uniquely, your unique movie out of your own consciousness. And it creates this unique reflection, this unique movie out of your own consciousness, so that you can see a clear reflection of yourself. So you can meet the blind spots, you can celebrate the glory and the joy and the happiness. You can have a clear reflection. It's not about judging or creating opinion. It's about being the aware being that is simply aware. That is simply aware. You are the stillness, the presence, the aware being that is simply aware, and in that is watching the surface of life, the play of experience and its content. You are just watching. So as these words come, it is to just receive the resonance and feel where there is an alignment, where you recognize truth. It's not about believing something different. There's nothing to believe here. Truth is truth is truth. It's one truth. It's the same truth for all beings, because it is the truth that just is. So it is also to be aware and notice where the mind is stirred, where the mind is stirred, where there is a sense of wanting to disagree and hold a position, believe that I am right. And that too is grace, because that too is an opportunity to just watch and see how strongly the me wants to defend and hold a position, how strongly the me wants to be right. But that in itself is what creates the sense of separation. So the invitation here is to meet where we are the same, to let go of all difference, to let go of all boundaries, all edges, all limits, and just meet here where we are the same. Find out where are we the same? In the presence of being, we are the same. We are all the same. It is not your presence and my presence. It is the presence. It is the being, the self, the heart, the love, the glory. The clear seeing of this is pure love. The clear seeing of this is the revelation of the love that is sought for in the world of things. The clear seeing is the revelation of pure love that is the true nature. The love that you are, the vast open heart that you are. It is so simple. And yet there are so many ways that this truth is overlooked. And that is why we meet. We meet to keep bringing this truth forward, to keep speaking the truth of the heart, so that where there is a longing, there can be a following the thread into this truth, to know it for yourself as your lived direct experience, to fall into the heart, into the self, into the awake field that is infinite, eternal, ever open, ever present being. It is a field of being that is immaculate and spotless, utterly spotless, has never been touched by the play of the world. It is pure and innocent and clear. This is the true nature. And when you know this as your true nature, the innocence, your own purity, your own clarity, you cannot find any question with anything that plays on the surface of life. When you know your own innocence, you know the innocence of absolutely everything. You know the purity in absolutely everything. You can only find the simplicity of just being. Yes, the world continues to dance, but slowly, slowly, you are less and less affected by it until you can smile in the face of what once would have felt that it would have destroyed you. What it would have destroyed would have been your sense of ego, your need to protect. It would have hammered on the walls of your protection, on the walls of your armoring, right? But when something is hammering on the walls, when something is riling you and is coming forward as challenge, it is here to break you open, to break down the protection. And as the protection breaks down in the face of what the ego does not want, what is discovered at the bottom of the surrender is what remains. And what remains is the love that you are, the truth that you are, the wide open heart that cannot be touched, has never ever been touched. What remains is the beauty, the innocence, and the purity of your true nature. And in that, the glorious revealing of the true nature of all being. That every single being that crosses your path is a divine orchestration. Everything is created out of your consciousness. It's not that there's someone that is orchestrating. It is consciousness itself moving. It's a field of intelligence. And that field of intelligence, it moves, it resonates and shines in order to create exactly what is needed in order for all of its flows, all of its unique flows that play as the unique beings, to meet all of the obstacles that are needed in order for the protection, the walls of protection, to come tumbling down. The great glory is that in this very moment, this moment here now, where we are the same, there is no protection. And so the open invitation is to meet here in the quietude of being, immersed in the vast, blissful ocean of emptiness, which is the silence. The vast, blissful ocean of emptiness that is the silence. The silence, the stillness, the simplicity of just being. You feel your own simple presence here now. And in feeling your own simple presence here now, you are feeling the one presence of being. You do not have to or need to understand with the mind. It is to feel the direct experience of your own presence, that you are here just being. You are not the name, you are not the story. The I am presence is the simplicity of this presence that has no content. It is emptiness, openness. And yet this open emptiness, this equanimity is completely full of its own knowing. It knows only itself. It is more simple to be with yourself than the mind could ever imagine. But it is right here now in this moment to meet in the felt sense. Let go of concepts, ideas, beliefs, and stories. Let go of everything that keeps you bound and open to the boundless self, the boundless being. The boundless part of yourself is the part of you that you have believed to be missing. But when you meet yourself here now without condition. You meet the presence. You find the part that you have believed to be missing. And you recognize that it's not about looking for a part of yourself in the world, in story, in achievement. It's in the recognition that to know yourself has nothing to do with the person. It is turning the attention away from all of the ideas of achievement and attainment. It is turning towards yourself. What are you turning towards yourself? You are turning attention. You are turning the purity of attention. You are really relaxing attention. The habit is for the attention to be focused on objects, on thoughts. It is to just turn that very same attention to the presence that is unmoving. Right now in this moment, turn the attention to the presence that is still and simple and free. And you feel yourself just being here. And you do not have to understand how you are boundless, how you are infinite, how you are eternal. Allow the wisdom to share that with you in right timing. It is just to be here so fully without needing to understand anything. It is to meet yourself in the felt sense of being. Meet yourself here as the openness, as the infinite spaciousness. The felt sense of being has no edges, has no containment. It is freedom itself, and you are this self. It is the silence itself that calls itself into the silence. It is the divine itself that calls itself into divine remembering. It is love itself calling itself into the direct knowing of the love that just is, the unconditional love that just loves. And this love is the heart. These are just words. This truth is so simple. It is to feel yourself here now, and to feel that when you are here now, you are just simply being. You have no story. It has always been like this. Underneath the story It has always been like this. Feel that truth. Confirm this truth that it has always been like this. All that we are seeking for on the surface of life is this that is already here, underneath the moving, changing, underneath the play of the world. The truth is here and has always been here. The truth has never, ever left itself. There never has been anything missing. Wholeness has always been whole, and nothing has ever, ever been taken away from wholeness itself. This is the truth of who you are, and this moment here now is the open doorway. It's an aperture, a portal. It's not a door that is ever closed. It is utter openness. And here now you enter the infinite truth of being. You cannot get it right and you cannot get it wrong, because there is no one here to get anything. It is in the recognition of this truth that one dissolves, that one merges into its source. The merging into the source comes through recognition, remembering. And this moment here now is perfect timing to fall into the stillness, the silence, the simplicity of just being. If you can feel yourself here now, then you are at the doorway, the wide open doorway that is the vast infinite field of being. There is no gatekeeper. It is an ever open wilderness, an ocean of alive emptiness. Beyond imagining, freedom just is, and you are that freedom that just is. There's no one to do anything. It is just about being the being, in the felt sense of being here now. The presence that just is simply aware. We could say that the aware presence is aware of the moving, changing, aware of thoughts, aware of body, sensation, intentions, aware of all that is moving and changing in the environment, using sense perception to perceive and the mind to interpret, but just falling back into the vastness of awareness, recognizing that what is aware is a part of you. What is aware is the vast missing piece. As you fall back into awareness, you can see the sense perception, and the senses draw in, and awareness itself is the vastness that is aware of sense perception, aware of the mind that comes and goes, the thoughts that can lead the attention astray. But it is to hold the attention here with the presence, being aware of what is moving and changing. in the confirming of this. It is to shift the attention, the focus, to being the aware being, just being aware of being here, aware of your own presence, aware of your simple presence, aware of the stillness that is underlying the moving, changing, aware of this simple presence that is still, that this simple presence is not touched in any way by the moving, changing. And you meet the immaculate light of aware being, the immaculate light of aware being that is eternally open. To open to the openness is to be available for grace to come in and shine the light, for the innermost being itself to whisper the silent truth that brings forward the direct remembering that this is who you are, that you never have been separated from the whole. You never have been a separate individual person, that you are not defined by your story and you are not confined by your story, that you are wholeness itself, and that wholeness has always, always been whole. It takes the most incredible humility to keep resting in this truth and just watch the play of the mind, to just watch how the habits want to play out. It is just to watch life as it ebbs and flows and moves and changes, but not to leave yourself, just to be the silent witness, resting in the truth that you are. And when the attention is pulled, it is not to be concerned about the happening where there is just a simple flow of life and practical things are happening. These are not a problem. These are just life living itself. Life will continue to live itself in every single way. It is to be aware of the places where you move into identification, where there is a sense of difference, a sense of separation, where opinion and judgment are playing. It is just to be aware where there are triggers and a sense of challenge, where the mind is actively playing out the story in the inner landscape, having those silent private conversations in the inner world with the apparent other that feels to have crossed a boundary or caused some sort of aggravation or agitation. It is just to listen to the story you are telling yourself. When you listen to the story you are telling yourself, that part of you that is holding some kind of protection, it just wants to be heard. So listen, be the listener to your own story. Listen to what you are telling yourself, but listen as the aware being. Listen as the wide open heart. Listen as unconditioned love. Listen to the story that you are telling yourself, rather than it just churning around in the mind, trying to find a way to prove its rightness. Listen to that story as the stillness, as the silence, as the wide open heart. And then hold the presence. Hold that presence for yourself. Hold the presence of love, of openness, of utter welcoming, so that where the story is churning as a protective habit, you can drop deeper and feel the feelings that you are avoiding feeling by telling the story. Let go of protection. Let go of defending. Let go of the need to be right. And be willing to feel what is underneath that protective mechanism. Feel what you were not able to feel that has been suppressed and pushed down. Hold that space of presence and connection and love that part of you has been longing for. Bring that part of you home to the being. Refine that part of your consciousness into the light of being. Bring that part of you home from a sense of being a wounded personal heart. Bring it home to the infinite heart, where it can remember the love, can remember union, can remember the truth. And then this part can, in essence, can grow up, can mature. The child is the mind, and those patterns of the childish mind can mature into being the being, being the light, being the heart. This is the grace that life offers. So we can be so knocked around by life. If we believe the thoughts of the mind that life is happening to me, but if you know the truth of the being that you are, you can receive the grace of life as a divine offering to carry you into the truth of who you are. That nothing is happening to you. Everything is happening for you, by you, by virtue of your longing for this truth, by virtue of your longing to know your true nature. That is the momentum. That is the flow of momentum that is creating everything on the surface of life to bring forward all of the pokes and prods that are needed, that will stir the pot so that you look deeper, that you go deeper than being knocked around by life, by resting in the judgments and the opinions and all of the ways that we can protect. Even guilt and shame are protection. And it's all protecting us from feeling the deeply held feelings. And these feelings are energetic flows in consciousness. We could say they are karmic flows in consciousness, but they are just flows of consciousness that have energetic patterns that are denser, and they are just here to be alchemized, sifted out, distilled down. And you, precious being, are the vessel. You are the vehicle. You are the chosen one to alchemize these exact pieces. This is your assignment. This is your divine assignment in your human birth this time around. To receive the grace of life's chunky parts, the chunky bits, the gritty parts, and be the vessel that alchemizes through feeling, through meeting and not turning away, by holding the light of aware being, feeling the feelings, and allowing this incredible alchemizing of all of the gritty parts to be distilled. The discordant patterns can be distilled right down into the bliss of being that feeds the divine, the nectar that it needs to flow more fully right to the surface of life. Right? You are bringing you are bringing the great glorious gifts to the divine. When you distill these gritty parts down and you come into surrender and you feel the bottom of the surrender, your openness, the love that you are, you feel a deeper value of heart. As you come into this and you feel the openness and the beauty, that nectar that we speak of, drinking this nectar, as you drink the nectar, you are feeding the divine. You are feeding, we could say, the connection to the source. You are feeding the gods. So maybe a poetic way of speaking it, but you are nourishing the divine so that the divine can know that there's a readiness, a timeliness to flow more on the surface of life. So then the divine nature, the one divine illuminated nature, like the power source, can flow more freely through the vessel that you are. And that's what brings more of the feeling of connection and truth and knowing and openness. Right? It's all one. It's not that the divine is over there and you are separate. This is what's being dissolved, right? And as it's dissolved, you feel more of the divine nature. You feel more of the illumination, the luminous light of the divine that you are. And that is why the nectar of bliss, the simplicity of that, is so gorgeous and nourishing. It feels so good. It's not good as opposed to bad. It's primordial, essential goodness. It's essential essence. It's the deepest rasa, right? It's essence. It's the nectar, the flowing nectar of grace. And the more that you receive the wilds of life and you distill it down, you are coming to finer and finer values of recognizing the truth of who you are. It's not about the me that's doing this. This is all naturally just happening. It's all naturally just happening. All the doer can do is surrender doership to being. Recognize that the divine is the only doer. God, the Mother, is the only doer. There is nothing outside that is controlling anything. And you are that. You are that. But you are not controlling it with your mind. You are letting go into this truth. And you are nourishing the deeper and finer values of your own recognition. Being here now, and being willing, having the humility to just be yourself. And when you feel that you are stirred by something playing, then it is to be still and receive. You do not go to battle on the surface of life. It is a battle you cannot win. And perhaps by now we have tried hard enough and fiercely and courageously enough to win the battle of life. To know that it is a battle that cannot be won. It is only here to humble us. It is here to humble us into the dust of simple being, into the dust of not knowing. The only knowing to really know is not knowing. Right? The only knowing is your own knowing of being. Know that and know nothing else. What you can be sure of is that nothing else is needed, because this knowing is so alive in its own knowing, its own fullness. And this knowing is a wild, flowing field of intelligence. The self-knowing itself is all the knowing that is needed. It's pure knowing. It's self-knowledge, pure knowledge. It's the pure truth of who you are, and nothing else is needed. So, of course, the mind cannot find a way of proving this before knowledge, true knowledge comes forward. There's nothing that the mind can do. And this is all about the humbling. This is all about the surrender. The one that cannot do it is the perfection that the divine has created. In order for there to be a humble surrender into this moment again and again and again, in pure devotion to the longing. Every being is longing for love, and it is to meet in the love that is so simple. If it feels like there is no longing, it is to recognize that another way to say this could be the whisper of the heart, the whisper of your innermost being, the whisper of source, right? There is something that is akin to longing. It is the whisper of that which you have always known, that which creates all seeking. But you know, the moment that created the seeker was your first awakening. It was the opening of the seed of awakening. The moment that you recognized that there was something more and you wanted to find that truth, that God, that was your first moment. And in that moment, the knowing was there. The play of the seeker is a cheeky little one, because in the play of time, it can last many years, right? But that moment, that first moment that created the seeker, that moment is here now. When you come to the here now, you eradicate time. You erase time. And the here now brings you to the same knowing that out of which we could say the mind created the seeker. When you come to the here now, you are right here in the infinite timeless moment that is the true one. So as these words come, it is just to feel the resonance of what is being pointed to. Feel how you feel it. We could say, how is it relevant in your direct experience? How it is relevant is the way that it brings you alive, what you say yes to. It's not about holding a quality of a teaching We could say the bringing every teaching that brings you alive into its relevance is by feeling the resonance of what comes alive in you in this moment now. You bring that teaching to this moment and you feel its relevance. And all moments are here. All moments are here. All moments, we could say, of glory, of opening, they are all here. But in this moment, it is to let go of all experiences into only the direct experience of this moment. To feel the glory that is right here. Feel yourself. As these words come and we point to all of these facets that are alive here in this field of infinite being, we are clearing away, we are sweeping away where there is debris, so that there can be a finer and finer knowing of this truth of who you are. It is to know yourself in the fineness, in the fineness. The fineness is the silence where the mind slips between the things into the silence of being. There is an emptiness, an openness. A simple, silent stillness. And this is the truth of who you are. Mm. 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 The mind drops between the thoughts, between the words, into the heart that is vast, infinite, open. Silent heart. The ocean of blissful emptiness, resting absorbed in this vast, infinite ocean of being, of the self, the presence that just is.